Yeah, so a very good evening, everyone. This is Bhushan Gaikwad. I'm the founder and CEO of Engineers Connect. So, first of all, a very happy Engineers Day to all. And yeah, so this year we are doing this Engineers Fest. It is not that extensive as we did it last year with eight speakers and 10 events because we were committed to something else this time and the resources were aligned to that. But yeah, in the end, at the last moment, we somehow managed to have at least two speakers for you. And yeah, so those will provide value to you on this Engineers Day, specifically give you some knowledge. And as Amit sir says, give you some gyan, right? And yeah, so happy Engineers Day, and we have these two sessions for you. One is the hackathons and intensives, which is already done, and second is startup for dummies, right? So we have this amazing and expert speaker with you, that is Mr. Amit Rawat. I personally know him from a long time now. I think it would be like more than 5 years. I know him personally, and he's a great person. He's a very well known person in the startup ecosystem. If you are in Pune in the startup ecosystem, most probably you have met him or you have heard about him. Then he's a startup mentor, as well as a business consultant. He can invest strategically into your startup. He is been a keynote speaker into various sessions organized related to startups or related to anything aligned with that. Then he's also a digital evangelist, and he's into angel investment, and he's also had been an investor at NASCOM. Yeah, and he's also core team member of Head Start Network Foundation, and he's also the Pune head for Head Start Network Foundation. And there are a lot of things about his profile which I can tell him, but most probably, in short, he is into startup, and you can ask him anything related to startup. So I'll just hand over the stage to him. And we already have the pre-recorded questions, but if you people are live, you can also add the questions over there. So yeah, Amit, the stage is yours.
Yeah, hi. Thanks, Bhushan. Thanks for inviting me again on Engineers Day, as we do it like a yearly ritual where you hold up, GAN sessions for the audience, mostly engineers, but yes, other people do log in who are interested in entrepreneurship or knowing what a startup is. So, thanks again, and it's been great knowing Bhushan right from the days he kind of passed out of college and created his own entity, that is Engineers Connect, as well as company which is into IT services, and now they have a platform to connect engineers, and really good to see him scale, wherein a lot of student networks are now connected to him. A lot of people from the industry are connected to him, and we have sat so many times brainstorming over how to, where to, when to. But that was like the early days some years back, and now it's been on a kind of a second level of his venture. So thanks again. I primarily understand the audience would be wannabe entrepreneurs or first time entrepreneurs or people who are kind of still pondering whether to go into the startup ecosystem or whether to kind of take a job or something. But then this is basically what Bhushan kind of messaged about, that is startup for dummies, as if uh, people would like to know right from the basics. Frankly, I am of the opinion that this generation is well informed about the concepts or some terms that you give them, they would immediately search it out from the internet and acquire some knowledge already. But as the session goes, we would treat this as like something related to the basics, and probably in the Q&A session you can, some of you can pop up a question relating to your specific query. So we can start off with the term startup itself. Maybe a couple of decades back, we didn't really know what a startup is. This kind of came down from the Silicon Valley, where startup was already a buzzword, and huge companies in the offerings like HP, Apple had taken birth, and they were already working around to create their own legacy. And now we know where they are. And a lot of other things have also matured into the SaaS startup system. And I would say, primarily in the late 80s, that is where the startup journey of India really began. And in the early 90s, it was just kind of, taking wings. Uh, the kick, I would say, however, came after, mid of 2000, 2004, 5. That is where people started recognizing this to be a serious industry. And a lot of startups now have come up, like there are thousands of startups today. And as you may have researched or heard, there are about 100 plus unicorns that we have in India. Just to clarify, basically, unicorn is a company which has got a valuation of $1 billion. So, still early stages for you to kind of go into that ecosystem, that level, but probably you are still studying, probably you are still pondering whether to create your own venture or not. But here is what I think of the startup.
Yeah. So, Amit, are you changing the slide? Okay, now we can see. You're on which
Yeah,
slide? What is the startup?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, right. We can see it. Yeah.
So everybody keeps on asking. Those who do not know about it just keep on asking, what is a startup? And there have been various definitions. A company which has started off, a company which has got revenues, a company which deals with high productivity, growth, uses technology, and all of those things. Yes, it is all of those things, but for people who know the industry, who know the ecosystem, who know what to define of a startup, uh, it's a company that's in initial stages of business. Because a startup starts with an idea. It always starts with an idea, and then it has to grow on into the business. If you ask the guys who have matured through the startup ecosystem, most of them would agree that a venture, you know, it's an entity, a venture that may or may not have been matured into a business yet, but certainly it creates an impact. The guys who create an impact are the startup entrepreneurs, and the venture that creates impact is a startup. Just give you a couple of examples. There are like hundreds and thousands of examples, but the more recognizable are the one which is Amazon and Uber. These are mostly coming from the US ecosystem. Yes, we do have the equivalent of these guys in India, which grew up, and mostly you would know is, the Indian version of Amazon is Flipkart, and the Indian version of Uber is Ola. So that is where it all began. It all began from not reinventing the system or reinventing something, but making a Indianized version of something which was already there. Okay. Yeah. So when things started off in India, it started off with the technology sector, because in the early 90s, that is where the information technology business actually took wings, and most of the IT companies became recognized figures since then. For example, Infosys, Wipro, TCS, yes. But they all started as a startup. They all started to try to create an impact. Okay. Today, it's no longer 100% those ventures are tech ventures. No, it's not the case. Most of them are driven by tech. The backend is tech. but they have gone into servicing of different sectors. For example, something like e-commerce, the example that I gave you, Amazon, Flipkart, those guys, which enable you guys to order something online, get it delivered to your doorsteps at the place and time of convenience, and at a rate which is much better than probably the retail MRP that you guys would be paying. Certain benefits that kind of come into you. Similar, you have delivery services. I would say something like Swiggy, Zomato. That's again food delivery, yes, but there are other deliveries as well. You combine that technology with healthcare, you would have something like 1NG, NetMeds. Now they're unicorns as well. Okay, for engineers, especially who go for courses like artificial intelligence, these there are some products in the industry, product-based startups, which use artificial intelligence and give AI solutions to different sectors. Then you have virtual reality. Yes, it kind of started off with gaming many decades ago. Now, virtual reality is not just into gaming; it would be into sectors like real estate and so many other places where even in medical, where some guy sitting far away would check out or mobilize resources to have an experience which is considered, you know, almost in person. You feel that. You feel you are driving the system. You feel that you are viewing something which is like far off. Virtual reality. One more sector which has kind of flourished and actually, quadrupled their businesses are the guys in the edtech industry, where technology is used, yes, to put things online, courses online, content online. Big example in the Indian ecosystem, guys like Baiju, Topper, so many other players, Vedantu, right? These are the guys there, and it kind of really picked up, went to 3x 5x levels during the pandemic, where everybody was kind of forced to be at home, especially students, not just the colleges guys, but even the school students. And they referred a lot of content which was put out by the edtech companies, which obviously benefited the edtech companies in terms of customer acquisition and subscriptions. So that kind of took their business to a next level altogether. You of course would be using, some of you and most of us actually use something like the fintech products. Most famous examples: free charge, Paytm, phone pay, any and every app that helps you make a payment or receive a payment is classified under fintech sector. Okay, so you would see everybody uses technology as a base, but they have gone into different sectors, different application sectors. Some are product based, some are services based, but yes, they do use technology at the back end to enable people have those products or services very easily, easy access to them. Okay, moving on. Okay, so you know, an idea is an idea. We all understand that, yes. But a startup has to be a registered entity. Either it's a product or a platform. Amazon, from Amazon, the base company, something as famous as Amazon Alexa, which is pretty well known. So I don't think I have to explain much about what is Alexa. We've seen enough ads on TV and seen and heard about its performance, right? But primarily, if the idea has to be taken forward, converted into a business, it has to be a registered entity. You have to incorporate, a company. We'll not go into how you incorporate and what are the types of companies, because this session is not about that. Okay, right. So, like I said, a startup always involves cultivating an idea and then converting it into a problem solving venture. Most of the guys need to solve a problem. Otherwise, they're not going to make an impact. If they're not going to make an impact, it's not really called a startup, right? You could be having a showroom, or you could be having a kirana store selling goods, but that's not really creating an impact. Okay, that's just buying and selling. If you really want to create an impact, create an e-commerce platform which buys and sells either anything under the sun or something specific. Okay, it could be just, there are so many e-commerce sites today which deal with only electronic products. There are guys like Amazon which deal with almost anything from an pen to an aeroplane. Of course, they don't sell either a pen or an aeroplane, but no, just for the sake of it, I'm giving an example. Okay, there are companies which provide medicines at your doorstep. Service companies, do they make it? Not really, but they would be kind of an e-commerce company which is more or less a medtech. You would have the pure healthcare startups actually building products which probably record your ECG, give you a short mapping of your body right then and there. Okay, put the information, and through your app you can access the information anytime. Healthcare products, right? A startup basically would deal with a lot of things, a lot of stages where, yes, you have an idea. What do you do about it? Are you the best person to decide the idea is good, feasible, not feasible? Okay. There has to be someone, or you need to get an idea validation done. Validation is like, a reality check, a feasibility study. Somebody somewhere knows more about you. Talk to them. Okay. They need to say yes, no, or what can be improved. Okay. And then you move on to the section whereas you build up your MVP, your minimum viable product. Okay, I have an idea. How do I take it forward? If I have an idea about an electric bike, do I know how to make an electric bike? If you don't, then probably you should get someone who can actually make certain parts of it. There are so many vendors who kind of do it. Do you know the basics of it? Do you know the engineering behind it? Do you know a subject matter expert who could help you build up a minimum viable product? Okay. So this viable product has to be run like a prototype so that you can tell people, okay, this is a prototype of an electric bike, and I'm going to show you a demo regarding this. And it runs. So if it runs, it's a minimum viable product. Then you make kind of iterations and tune it up before you actually sell it into the market, before you actually release it on road. Okay, fine. You build the product. Okay, you're going to roll it out. Do you know something about the go to market strategy? Now, go to market strategy involves something of a mixture of marketing and sales. Do you know your market? Do you know where you're going to sell this? If you don't know your market, you'll have to map it down. You'll have to talk to, again, subject matter experts who know about rolling off into the market. When I talk to startups, and I've been talking to them for like, more than a decade now, none of them are really clear about what is their target market, how they are going to put it out into acquiring customers. Something like Again, let's take an example of a e-bike. What is the strategy should I use? Is it going to be an offline strategy or an online strategy? Am I going to put it on Amazon? Okay, you click on my bike and I'll deliver to your place, or do I show it to people on road? Because there could be other bikes from other brands. Do I need to have a showroom? That's pretty expensive. Do people even know about your product? Do people know about your brand? Okay, so this kind of mix and match and all those things, you should be working parallelly as and when your product is ready to roll out. Okay, there are various other stages involved, but let's consider these three to be the start. Then we go to growth hacks and a lot of other things, and finally one of the glamorous words, funding. But that's far later. I keep the startups I'm mentoring working on these things first, making some things sell into the market, and then I would say, okay, let's prepare a pitch deck for talking to an investor. So that should come much later. Okay, so like I said, it the startup starts with an idea. It could be multiple ideas, it could be a one group of ideas which is related to the same thing. A lot of planning has to be going into this. You need to have a team. More or less, you will realize over the period of time, a one man army doesn't work. It has to be a teamwork. Okay, it has to be a teamwork. There has to be certain investments put in at the start. You should watch the in the market. Is it really the right time to release the product, or create a platform and put it online? Okay. Furthermore, to push these things into the market, you would require resources. Resources would be obviously the tech guys, yes, for the backend, the product guys, yes, obviously, and you would also require something who would market this, or a guy who's a sales specialist. If it's a product, yes, definitely. Okay, and using those resources and putting them into the market involves quite a lot of strategy. You need to have a clear plan in place. Whether the plan works, doesn't work, if it doesn't work, how do you make a pivot? How do you make changes into the plan? That all is part of strategy. And this is ongoing for a lifetime. The product kind of, rolls out into the market, whether it makes the kind of impact into the market, that has to be collated again through feedbacks, through customer feedbacks, especially uh, guys who put it as, okay, you can use this as a sample and give me a feedback. You could go to the subject matter experts, let them try it and give you feedback. If the feedback is good, great. If it doesn't, then you need to go back to the idea ecosystem where you could make changes to the product. And again, the cycle starts. It could also be the version 1 was good. Now I need to go back to the drawing board and create a version 2 and follow the same cycle again. Okay. Um, so we've seen, some kind of stages that we follow. We've seen kind of a cycle that we need to follow uh, till the startup is in existence. Now, bringing something from idea to reality. Do you have an idea? Yes. We also saw what stages we have to go through initially. Okay. What are you going to do with those ideas? It's very important. This is again kind of product service cycle thing that I kind of picked up, which is you need to define, you need to build, you need to test it. Okay, because just following a particular concept will not get you to the launch. The concept has to be defined first. Okay, you need to write down maybe on a piece of paper, type in on a laptop, whatever. Okay, the build happens. The build has to be tested. You cannot just launch it. Okay, if the testing isn't satisfactory or the results aren't satisfactory, you go back to the drawing board, redefine things. Okay, when it kind of works out according to the technical specifications or whatever things you had in mind, the agenda you had in mind, the objectives you wanted to achieve, only then is it ready for a launch. Okay, so this keeps on happening all the while. Yeah, so one of my favorite slides, which again I kind of picked up, is yes, you could be in a job, okay, not following anything, but even in a job you would have certain things to be followed, a process that is followed. Okay, similar to that is the journey of a startup is much harder, where you have an idea. Okay, having idea is the least uh, painful thing. It's almost like a comfort zone. Just having an idea, I have an idea, I'm daydreaming about it. When I actually start working, that is where the hard work is required. That is where the pain starts, because you're typically going into the journey of the unknown, a region which is not known to you, which is creating a product. You don't know how the product will turn out. Okay, this is the execution part. Most of the times it kind of you have grand dreams, but it kind of you experience a failure, and this is going to be a challenge all throughout the life. There could be a failure, you could go back to the drawing board, redraw things again, rebuild things again. Okay, and then it kind of moves out. You have to put in the work to make it happen. Only the work will help you overcome the challenge, overcome the failures. And one of the things I have seen, and I have always told people, is how do you get through this particular journey? It would be pure passion driving it. If you don't have the passion, you won't have the patience. If you don't have the passion, you won't have the will to work hard and carry you through the challenges. It's a long, hard journey before you hit success. Okay, and this is the reason why initially, in the initial years, I think post 2000, a lot of people who are not knowing about the business jumped into it, built products or platforms, uh, failed to kind of market it properly, or didn't define their target market, or the products maybe were not good enough or not comfortable enough for the clients or the customers to pay for it, and then they faced a business failure. Okay, so there are various kinds of things, various factors that can affect, but if you have passion, it will drive you to work harder and overcome these things, and that is the journey of execution. That is where it takes you to the top. Okay, so like I said, there have been many unicorns in the past couple of years. What we have seen, a race to unicorn, it's always become like crazy, the number of people who have turned unicorns or who have decided to you know go for an IPO and showing revenues of billions of dollars. Whether they have the bottom line ready or not, or profitable or not, that's a different things, because most of the unicorns in India are not profitable, but they are still doing $1 billion revenues. That's a separate thing that we can discuss probably in some other session. But this is where we are. For those who know those unicorns, for those who have seen advertisements or read somewhere something, like I discussed the e-commerce part, there is one founder I always kind of talk about, who has slowly and steadily moved into this space and made it profitable. And that somebody happens to be the founder of First Cry. It started off like most of the startup guys with an idea where he had a personal pain point buying something for his kid and he don't know where to go, how to purchase, and he decided to create a platform which is obviously an e-commerce platform. But if you know, First Cry deals with baby and kids. Okay, initially they had it for kids, then they converted into initially they had it for a baby, like the newborns. What would they require? How do the parents find about where what things does their baby require? From where do they get it? This was taken as a feedback and he created a platform. And then further, when the baby grows up, where do these guys go and shop for their kids? What other things are required? And First Cry deals, as we know, only with baby and kids. Now they have kind of moved into pre-teens kind of stuff, which because the baby that was like in born maybe a decade ago now has grown up and is into the pre-teens. So they are catering to products related to those, right? Would I call it a success story? Yes, because initially after a lot of investments, they actually started uh, earning a lot of revenues and they went online. That was their strategy in the first phase until they got kind of the first round, second round of funding. Then they have gone into offline stores as well, which again work as even not only the shopping centers for parents but also warehouses to stock maybe for the entire week, month, and especially during festival seasons. So that strategy has resulted in First Cry reducing their losses since they started, and now it's kind of gone profitable. And last year they turned unicorn. So slow and steady kind of gets you not only into the race but also kind of goes ahead, helps you go ahead in the race. If you compare this with Flipkart and a lot of other e-commerce companies, they are making losses worth thousands of rupees. They may be making revenues more than First Cry comparatively, volume wise, but First Cry, whatever it makes, it's actually turned profitable. And pride of Pune, as I would call it, is among the less than half a dozen unicorns that we have in Pune. And one unique feature about unicorns in Pune, all of them are profitable. If you compare that or you check online, I would say three-fourths of India's unicorns are loss making. And Pune is the only city, probably, which has got all its unicorns making profits as on date. So that's a success story. Thank you for your patience, and I hope you had some information which was clearly enlightening and you have some takeaways from this session. So, if there are any questions, we do have some time for questions. Bhushan, if
Yeah,
you
yeah, sure. We do
let
have
me know.
some time. I think you wrapped up at the right time. Right, and it was like I can see that the presentation was like pretty brief, and it like as the name suggests, startup for dummies. So it has covered all the things which should be covered for dummies. Right. So this is a YouTube live session wherein the session link will be shared with all the people. So that's why we have some pre-recorded questions as well as some live question. So let's take a live question first. This is from Mayank Chaudhary, where he is asking that, sir, in robotics area, is there any scope of startup in India?
Sorry?
You can see it on the screen where Mayank is asking, sir, in robotics area, is there any scope for startup in India?
Yeah, See, a lot of startups which have come into the space, you know, like I discussed, not only the e-commerce guys or the delivery, food delivery or whatever, medicine delivery guys, but uh, you know, we've got nanotechnology coming down. We had, the EV revolution has already started in the last few years. We have people who are in the medtech who are using robotics today. The doctors, the medical fraternity using uh, robotics to have operations done, being guided by a surgeon who is sitting in another city. Okay, we've got people in the hospitality sector. It's still early stages, but there are, like, places where robots are doing the work of serving people in a hotel or a restaurant. So we have got robots doing stuff in warehouses, trying to replace humans, not entirely, but on a certain level. It has to be seen how quickly the Indian business ecosystem tries to use robotics into any and every sector. So it's an upcoming thing. The thing that we require from engineers is they need to go into the machine learning part, where they could design the next level of robots and use them in sectors not used before. So all these guys, whatever you learn, you have to apply it. And we have had, for so many years, we have robotics hackathons happening every year, and a lot of students participate in those things. So that kind of has picked up in the last decade. So definitely, yes, any and every sector where technology is used has a scope.
Oh, okay, fine. So yeah, as Amit said that there had been a lot of space and scope for robotics. Yeah, because I know few of my friends personally into the space, and they are getting a lot of government grants, as well as Startup India has also
Right,
announced hackathons for robotics. If you follow the Startup India website, yeah.
right.
So I think Amit sir mentioned the word passion somewhere, but yeah, right. So robotics, if you are passionate about some area, you should explore that thing first instead of going with the flow, like where the trend is going. Right. So then these are pre-recorded questions wherein Somesh is asking how to raise funds for a service-based company.
Right. So they have been. I need to kind of know this sector, whether it's travel or it's a hospitality things. Because if you're trying to raise through a hotel or the restaurant, there are normal things. There is a separate set of investors who would, just put money in hotels and restaurants. So he has to be very specific about what sector is he trying to go into. Is it like a e-commerce? Is it something related to Swiggy, Zomato guys? Is it something related to guys like Zepto or Blinkit, where a specific sector is being targeted? Is it going to be, a chain of coffee shops that he is trying to create? So different investors have the preferences. You need to draw up a plan of action, and if you initially get the business going, they will see what kind of scaling you done, what kind of revenues do you gather, and only then the investors move into the service sector.
Right, right, right. So
It's
maybe
also,
I
yeah,
think this question is also aligned in such a way that how to present service-based companies to the sorry, to the investors, like because the projections or the business model will be different than that of product-based, and also in the market it is said that product-based companies have higher like probability of getting funds. Maybe this is coming from that mindset. I'm not sure. So if you
yeah,
could put some
yeah,
light on.
right. I think we
Yeah,
have time for one more question if you have.
there are a lot of questions. You can just answer in short. Yeah, so this is just like, I don't know if it's related to startup. It is just that he's asking, there is unemployment and less salary for IT jobs, so what should the beginners do?
Yeah, so one of the things that I have seen over last 10, 15 years is, since I've guided so many guys in college itself, they have an idea, they pick up a passion, they create a venture, and they run it till they kind of graduate. So if you are probably doing engineering or maybe first year MBA, or just in college at doing BCom or something else, if there is an idea that is giving you sleepless nights, just pick it up and start working on it. So by the time you graduate, you would have enough time to see what's going wrong, what's going right. Have you made any progress? If it kind of doesn't work out, you need to go, go to the industry, probably pick up a job, come back with some experience, and then create your own startup. I understand this is always a common question being asked. I need to go to a campus interview, but I'm interested in a startup. So, I would say step back a bit. If you have time, maybe a year or two before you graduate or you want to appear, work on some particular idea, try to take it to the next level. If you think you require more experience, then you should step into the industry, gain some experience, and come back and work on your startup. If you think
Right.
the journey is hard enough and you don't have the passion, or a salary looks more comfortable to you, then you certainly need to pick up a job. So that is always the catch 22 situation in front of
Right, right,
any guy who is into graduation. Or I've
right.
seen girls working on their ideas, so guys, you need to pick it up.
Right, right,
Yeah.
right. And yeah, so I know there's less time. So what we'll do is we'll just take the questions fastly. You can just answer in short if you want. Wherein he's asking that how to start up as a structural designer. Hafiz Mansur Ahmad.
Sorry, your voice
Hafiz
was
is
breaking.
asking Hafiz is asking how to start up as a structural designer. You can also see on the screen if you are not able to hear me. Hello, are you able to hear me? Hello. Uh, yeah. Yeah, guys, so I think there is some technical issue on his side. But yeah, I have put all the links like Amit Rawat sir's link in the chat where you can connect with him, right? And you can write to him. I have again added him to the stream. He is there. But yeah, at the end of the session, you will be also provided with the LinkedIn link, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, are you able to hear us right now? I think we lost you in between.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, like, did you answer this question or you were still on this question?
I there was
Can you
break.
try by switching off your video if there is some bandwidth issue? Are you able to hear us? Hello? Yeah. Let's just hang on for a minute. I see some technical issues, but if he is there, we'll try to take the questions. Or I have shared the LinkedIn link with you. You can connect with him and take the questions. Yes. Are you able to hear us? Hello. So I don't know if I'm able. You're able to hear me, but take the question on the screen. Hello. Hello.
I can hear you.
Yeah, right. So I know there's a lot of time that went into this, but let's take some fast questions where you can just answer in one line or so. So Gito Daya Vijay Bose is asking how to balance the last year of college with job or startup.
Yeah. What I've seen is usually I kind of typed it on the chat, but last year mostly is by the last year you have figured out what is the syllabus all about, and you are mostly working on either getting a placement or working on a project. So during that project time, I would say, whoever are your teammates, you could involve them, make a team, and work on the idea. To brainstorm. Since you're going to spend time with them, you spend time with your classmates or your project mates. You need to find time to brainstorm with them, and also it would be helpful of entrepreneurship cell in college,
Right, right, right.
which helps you to know more about the startup ecosystem. You could take help from the HOD relating to the information. If it's going to be a product, and I have seen this because a lot of startups I have helped, they actually worked on the product which was their startup venture, which was also their final year project, and they kind of took it forward and created a venture as and when they graduated or after they graduated. So they had this idea in college and they took it probably in the last year itself maybe, and continued with that as a venture after they graduated. So yes, this is a smart way of doing things. Always try to discuss it with people who have similar ideas or who have similar passion, or make them your team members. That's the best way to do it.
Right, right, right.
Job,
So,
obviously, like I said previously, if you're going for a placement, fine, but you need to start early. By the time you graduate, you would have figured out whether it's working or not. If it's not working, or you think you require some money and more knowledge about the industry, you can pick up a job, come back some few years later. Some of my friends have done that. They worked 5, 10 years, 15 years in the industry, came back, and one fine day they created a startup. Okay, so nobody is going to force you to have a startup in college or something, or just start up after college. You take your time.
right, right, right. So this is a nicely answered question because I also got two to three similar questions that whether we should start in the college or after the college or do a job. So students are mostly confused in that. But I think before taking that question, you have answered it. But if you want to add more to it, you can add it. Yeah.
Yeah, sure. So
Yeah. So I think that there are a lot of questions in the form as well. But yeah, with respect to the time which we have, I think we will not be able to take much of them, and we can conclude the session right now. And the people who are wanting to still ask questions, or the people whose questions are not answered, I'll share your LinkedIn link with them. I will share it in the video comment, as well as I'll share in the dedicated WhatsApp group of all the participants. So maybe that will work, right?
yeah, yeah, sure.
Okay, okay. Thank you so much, people, for joining. This will be let out soon live. The video will be rolled out. So after that, we will be expecting to have your comments as well as your replies to the event after this video is put on our YouTube channel. So yeah, thank you so much, Amit sir, for your time. And as always, I informed you at the last moment, or like had you in between, and you accepted that. So thank you so much for it. And yeah, I'll keep you connected with any queries or any things I receive from the participants.
Sure. Thanks, Bhushan, for inviting me again. And it's always a pleasure to connect with curious minds. And we had a time constraint, yes, and these kind of discussions can go for hours and days and weeks. We know
Right,
that we have sat many times over this.
right,
So
right, right.
hopefully, maybe a kind of a one-to-one session, or because this is mostly a online thing happening, and we enjoy interactions in a auditorium or whatever. But hopefully someday that will happen soon.
Right, right, right.
Yeah,
That is there, and I also took the questions filtered out, like whichever you answered in your presentation. I did not take that questions. I only took the
yeah,
questions which are out of your presentation. So, but I can see that this time the
okay,
quality of questions has increased significantly as compared to last time. Yeah. So people are like getting aware a bit of startup ecosystem, or the questions are targeted this time.
right, right, sure,
Yes. Thank you so much,
sure.
sir, for your.
Good to be here.
Yes, sir. We'll surely
Yeah,
have something in future. Yeah. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you, everyone.
sure. Thanks, Bhushan.